Thank you. We've spent quite a lot of time on this already today, which is good. It's good that people are active and care so much about this issue that we also care so much about. These documents set out our 4 priorities and how we work to achieve them. The work that we've been doing since last summer has been to develop an action plan that ensures the council operates as one council and truly collaborates across service areas to prevent harm and to support those affected by these crimes. Our 4 priorities were consulted on and gained broad and firm, almost unanimous support. So in line with the national strategy, we aim to reduce these crimes by 50% in 10 years. To make it clear, government guidance, both the previous government and this government, was clear that this strategy must include all victims and survivors, including men, and ours does. Strategic objectives are strengthening community coordination, prioritising prevention, supporting survivors, and building an accountable community and changing perpetrator behaviour. Our strategy is inclusive of all victims and survivors, and our commissioning plans will be developed with a new oversight board, incorporating services that are accessible to all victims and survivors. For me, the most important improvement that needed to be made is that our own organisation responds more effectively. And I know and thank colleagues for all your help in making sure that your departments will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daniel, for this strategy. And I just want to pay tribute to you and to officers that have worked really hard over quite a significant period of time to make sure that this is in the right state to be taken forward. I think this is a really thoughtful document, and I think it really grapples with some of the issues that we are best able as a city council to improve and take some leadership on for the benefit of survivors and to, as you say, try and increase prevention. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments for Councillor Daniel? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Chair. In my role in culture, heritage and tourism, I think it is absolutely wonderful that we shouldn't need it. That's the first thing we should need. But the fact is it exists, and being able to look at all areas of my portfolio, which encompasses so many of the places, the public spaces where women are vulnerable, either because they are tourists or because they are in music venues or clubs, or because they are just simply walking to a park. But there's so much, so along the seafront road, so much of my portfolio encompasses spaces where women are vulnerable. And so to be able to have this one council strategy and to be able to ensure that everything we do with our partner organisations in the city means that we can ensure that this is always at the forefront, because we must work to reduce violence against women and girls and sexual violence and domestic abuse. So I welcome this because it will enable me to put this at the forefront of what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Poem.
Thanks, Chair. And also congratulations to Councillor Daniel for this really sophisticated and in-depth strategy. Don't really know where to start, actually, because there are so many good things in it. Let me start by highlighting that this strategy really believes that there is no one single agency that is able to tackle VAWG. This is an issue everybody should be concerned with. The entire council, every single department, the police, community groups. So it's really good to see that the strategy really touches on all these different partners. It's also fantastic to see that sort of heavy emphasis on intersectionality. It matters. Your immigration status matters. And unfortunately, your ethnicity matters. So all this is sort of picked up by the strategy. So thank you very much for this really, really good document. Lastly, while reading it, I was stumbling across the numbers about residents feeling safe during the day versus at night. And I think it really shines a light on how much work there is to do. 65% of residents said they felt safe during the day, but 77% said they felt unsafe at night. So it really highlights, again, and this is a multi-agency approach, how much work there is to do. And I think this strategy is really, really the starting point, and I hope it gets the ball rolling on this. So thank you very much again.
Thanks, Councillor Pound. Councillor Mooton.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Daniel, for a very important report. I just want to really credit the hard work that's gone into this, and thank you. What highlighted in the report and presentations here and elsewhere is the urgency of this and to implement this. And in the action plan, I particularly look at action plan 1.4, 1.5, which relates to transport, public spaces, including public transport and work along the highways. Last week I had the privilege of being invited to go to citizens meeting for young people, student council representatives, representatives from each of the main secondary schools and sixth forms, and Brighton University and Sussex University, and also representatives from each of the bus operators and Govia Thameslink were present. And this started from a discussion with those same young people at a previous meeting last year, where they described quite harrowing examples where there have been young people have been harassed and even threatened and felt very unsafe on public transport. Cases of lone young women on buses and often an empty bus, somebody coming to sit very close to them and thinking incredibly uncomfortable, or perhaps being followed after getting off a bus. And the urgency of making our public spaces, our public transport, our bus stops safer is really noted. Now, I'm very encouraged to support their campaign, as is driven by the young people and students, to try and magnify and really help to encourage this behavioural change within our city, so that young people in particular and women feel safe on the public transport and bus stops. We are looking at investing into cameras, CCTV, which we have across the city, but actually bringing those into bus stops as well. And that's one measure we are looking to do. But another measure which I really do want to work on, and as a council, is to feel safe to get from their door to the bus stop, for instance. So the route is so important, and that has got other benefits to the city. It encourages public transport. It's good for reducing car journeys, and people when they feel unsafe may call up a taxi or get a lift rather than walk down the road to the bus stop. And so these innovations are really, really important for safety, but also other improvements in the city as well. So I just really wish to thank you for this report. I think it's urgent. I think the implementation plan within this report it is important. I wish to support that from a transport perspective and work with you to make our city much safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mooton. Any other comments or questions on this strategy? In which case, I'll just make some final reflections from myself. I think it's really important to think about the context and where we are in 2020. You know, it's trite to say that the statistics that are listed in this report, and indeed the statistics nationally for how prevalent sexual violence and domestic abuse are, something that should really shame us as a society and as a country. I'm fortunate as a woman in that I've never been the victim of sexual violence or domestic abuse, but the fact that I have to preface that by saying just how prevalent these medieval forms of violence and punishment towards women really are. I have, however, since the age of probably about 10, walking around this city and on a routine basis and unwanted sexual attention. I think it's something that as a younger woman, I assumed would be on a curve of improvement, because we are taught to believe that there is always progress. And as someone born in the 80s, as I was, and seeing what my mother's generation fought for and achieved on women's liberation and equality, there is, I think, a sort of assumption, and you're conditioned to think that things will always get better. And deeply distressed how, in recent years, toxic masculinity, as I now understand it to be, and something that I experienced certainly in school and growing up, has been so mainstream in our society, in society. And I think it's something that we need to be so vigilant of. We are not operating in a context where things are standing still. We're operating in a context whereby there are powerful actors trying to take us backwards when it comes to women's rights and the safety and security of all girls and women. So I absolutely applaud the work that has been done here. I think it is vitally important from this council to every person that we are going to be a proactive council, a council that safeguards women and girls and anybody that is at risk of these kind of abuses, that we will work in a multidisciplinary way, partners, to ensure that there is real lives of women and girls and anyone that is vulnerable to violence and abuse. So to officers, I'm now going to recommendations as detailed in the report.